My name is Stephanie Ross. I'm a physical therapist at VCU Health System at the Now Center in Short Pump, which is in Henrico, and I'm going to talk about assistive devices and equipment of various kinds. So what the objectives are, I'm going to talk a little bit about how would someone qualify for an assistive device, and we'll talk a little bit about funding and what insurance and Medicare thinks about when they're funding the various assistive devices, and we'll talk about advantages and disadvantages of them, and briefly talk about bathroom equipment. And when we are talking about funding, insurance companies are looking at what is it that somebody needs for their home. Insurance companies typically will not cover anything for community use. They want to know how assistive device will help a person become independent, efficient, and safe within their home environment to participate in what we call activities of daily living, such as bathing, dressing, toileting. And then as therapists, we're also looking at leisure skills and just that overall mobility and safety, because mobility is what is our priority, keeping somebody moving as much as possible and safely. So what is an assistive device? It's any device that is designed, made, or adapted to assist a person to perform those activities of daily living. And like I said, funding, we're looking at that safe mobility within the home. So we're going to start with the least restrictive and then go to wheelchairs. And so a cane, I think most people know what a cane is. So when we're looking at, when a therapist is considering a cane, we're looking at balance. We usually do give this to somebody who has maybe mild balance deficits, or maybe a little bit of pain, because it doesn't provide a whole lot of assistance when it comes to balance. It is portable, it's affordable. Insurance companies will cover it, but a lot of times people will pay out of pocket and then get the funding. The disadvantages, it can require some coordination, and if you have a tendency to fall backwards, it's not going to help as much with that. So it does provide a less support. Another least restrictive is a hiking pole. We will use this earlier in the disease process because it can promote that upright posture, and an upright posture can help with balance, and then again being able to see what's in the environment. Usually we will recommend this for community mobility, and again, it's portable, it's affordable. Insurance companies don't cover hiking poles. This is just a device that most therapists who have worked with people who have been diagnosed with Parkinsonism to find helpful to promote that upright posture. It does require coordination, and like the cane, it doesn't provide a whole lot of assistance with balance. So then we are looking at the walker. So you'll see there's two pictures of a walker. The top one doesn't have wheels, and then the bottom one has two wheels in the front. A walker provides a little bit more basic support for somebody. We don't typically recommend the one at the top because it makes it very hard to move forward if you don't have the wheels. So you would have to pick it up, then pick it up. And so if you have a tendency to fall back by picking it up, that's the chance that you may fall backwards. So what we typically, when we're looking at using a walker, it's usually for someone who may have a little bit more moderate balance deficits is what we consider. We like the wheels because, again, it's permitting a forward progression for walking, and it can help with more of an upright posture because you have some support. When we are looking at this too, we really do a lot of training of making sure the walker stays close, because if it is far away, then people will tend to come forward. And again, upright posture is the key for efficient walking and balance as well. The disadvantages to a walker is that the turning radius, there is something in front of you, so you have to consider that. And it's not always efficient because you do have the back post on this here, it does have a little resistance over carpeted area, and you have to be careful because it can catch on rugs and can be a trip hazard. So again, and as therapists, we consider all of these factors. We consider the home environment, we practice and we talk with the person to see what suits them best. Okay. And then the RoleLater. RoleLater has 4 wheels. Again, it provides a bigger base of support than a cane. We usually use this with someone who has maybe mild balance deficits and endurance. The reason is it doesn't provide a whole lot of assistance because it can get ahead of you, and with those 4 wheels it can be pretty, you have to have that control with the 4 wheels. But with that larger base of support and the bigger wheels, it can be helpful more in the community because it will roll over carpeted area or unlevel surfaces. It is lightweight, it's about 15 pounds, a little bit more than when we talk about the StepWalker. The disadvantages, because of that seat, it has a larger turning radius, and so sometimes it's hard to get around the bathroom or the kitchen, but again, that's what a therapist will help you with and seeing if this is an option. And with those wheels, again, if someone is having a hard time progressing their weight forward to initiate with walking, that RoleLater can again help guide the person forward to help with initiation. It does take a cognitive task to know when to lock the brakes safely because that RoleLater can get ahead. And if you do sit on it, you need to make sure the brakes are locked. And then the StepWalker. So I'm going to come over here. This is another type of RoleLater. I don't know if anyone's seen this. It is wider and it is heavier. And some people have asked me, well, why can't we get the U-Step to be lighter weight? The point of the U-Step, that heaviness provides more stability. It provides a bigger base of support for somebody. I'm going to put this down. The difference between a U-Step and a regular RoleLater is when I push it forward, it doesn't go. When I squeeze the handles, that's when it releases the brake. So that's what they call it, a reverse brake walker. And the reason why they found that this is helpful for a Parkinsonism is that when it gets in front of you, you don't have to lock the brakes. You can unrelease it and then get closer. Again, it's a heavier, it's wider base of support. Disadvantages sometimes to this is it is smaller. There are smaller wheels. If you look at the RoleLater, there's bigger wheels, right? And then the U-Step has smaller wheels. Sometimes there's a therapist that found that one person found that this was actually harder to get around with this because of the smaller wheels over carpeted areas, and so they were falling because of that, and they found the RoleLater. Sometimes, it's hard to say. Not everybody's going to fit in one category, and then as therapists, we see where someone's balance is, how they're moving, where's the weight, and it's a trial and error at times. And how we talk with the person to see what is it that is hard for them to do and what can we do to make those easier, and how can we use that assistive device to improve mobility and safety. Again, it has the seat like a RoleLater, so if somebody needs to sit down and rest, it's there. It is heavier, but it still does fold up. It is higher in cost, but insurance will pay for them if you have a therapist justify it. And as therapists, what we do is we usually see if other assistive devices haven't worked, and we're, again, really trying to promote walking and mobility. And if we find that this is the safer device, then that's how we justify it. The next is a transport chair. I don't have one of these here. Transport chairs it's kind of, the name says what it does. It's used for transportation. Usually people will use this to get from doctor's appointments. But it's lighter, it's lightweight. It's about 19 pounds. So it's very easy to get in and out of a car compared to other wheelchairs that we'll talk about. You can't push with your arms because it has the small wheels. So if somebody does push with it, they're using their feet. You just have to be careful that someone doesn't slide out. A disadvantage, it doesn't really provide any support, so we can't modify it to promote an upright posture. We can adapt it. It's kind of very basic. And it is out of pocket as well because it's considered a community mobility device. And they can run anywhere between $100 and $150, $120. Next is a standard weight or lightweight chair. These are usually for short-term use. Anywhere, so a standard weight chair can be more than 35 pounds, so pretty heavy. A lot of times I find caregivers have a very difficult time getting these in and out of cars. And then the lightweight can be like 30, 35 pounds, pretty heavy. But we usually recommend this if it's a short-term use. They are harder to get over, to push over carpeted area because the tires are just a hard rubber. And so it doesn't allow for efficient, what we call propulsion or wheelchair mobility. And it is covered by insurance. And the way you would get it covered, again, when insurance is looking at it, if you're not able to safely use a cane, a walker, a RoleLater, then insurance will say, well, can you use a standard or lightweight chair? And if we find as therapists it's not efficient, safe for somebody to participate in their ADLs, that's when we'll look at the ultra lightweight wheelchair. And that's what I have here. The ultra lightweight wheelchair is typically for somebody who's going to be use it for a long term. And again, somebody who's walking, maybe with an assistive device or with help, but that wants to have an independent mobility within the home. It is lighter weight, and we can adjust where this rear wheel is to allow for us to position it so it's efficient for propulsion. The standard weight, let me see if I can go back. The standard weight wheels are typically back. They're not as tippy, but it's harder for someone to push because they have to really reach back, so they may end up getting these short pushes, which really does take a lot of energy out. For these, the lighter weight, being able to adjust where the wheel is, somebody can get a more distance with one push. We can also change the type of tire to make it easier to go over level carpeted area. We can adjust the backrest. We can change the position, so then we are promoting a more upright posture. So we can do a little bit more with this, so it's custom. And with that custom, it can take some time to get coverage. Insurance will cover it, but then we have to do an evaluation with our ATPs, which are the DME providers. We write a letter, then we send all the paperwork sent to the doctor, and then insurance has 90 days to make that decision. So it is a little bit more of a process, and because they cost more, there may be more for somebody to pay if there's an 80-20 coverage. So if someone's been in an ultralight chair for more than a year and they want to maybe it's a little bit hard, they want to have a little bit of a boost, we can also look at power assist. And what power assist is, there's something called a smart drive, which is a motor attached to the frame, or there may be power assist wheels where there's wheels that when somebody pushes, it gives the person assistance. So it's not a fully powered chair, but it does help. It does add weight to the chair, but it can make somebody more independent. We have to think about cognition and safety too, because anytime we're talking about power, safety is key. And that's because, and being able to control and know when to turn it off, and to maneuver around obstacles, because we never want anyone to get hurt or accidentally hurt somebody else. Insurance will cover the power assist if somebody has been in a properly configured chair for more than a year. It's not definite, but it is a possibility. The other option is the eFix Power. So it's actually a joystick attached to a lightweight or a chair. Again, we have to think about cognition, vision too. Is somebody able to see their environment and so they don't hurt themselves? So we'll talk about power. So scooter. So usually for scooter, it's the qualification is someone's unable to participate in their ADLs with use of a walker, RoleLater, or that manual wheelchair. So with scooter though, the disadvantage, and it's a major disadvantage, is because of the length of it, the turning radius is much larger. So it's harder to turn around in a kitchen, a bathroom. The other issue with scooter, a lot of times with the Parkinson's population, is that it doesn't provide that postural support. It's a very basic chair. So if somebody sits with a flex posture, we're not able to customize it to help promote that upright posture. And if there's some balance, these things can be kind of tippy. So the upside is the cost, and you can transport it pretty easily in the car. But again, I highly recommend a therapist because there's a lot of considerations too. So then we kind of look at group 1 power. This is your basic power. It doesn't have, we don't customize the group 1 powers, but they are maneuverable, more maneuverable than the scooter within the home because the turning radius is smaller. But with the scooter, we can't customize the seat. We can't provide especially backrest. We can't have any of the power wheelchair features for seating, and we'll go over those a little bit, such as tilt and recline. But it does provide more support than a scooter. The cost is less, and because it doesn't have as many bells and whistles, the weight is less, so a lot of times people can attach a hitch with a trailer or a platform to transport those. And then last is I'll go through a couple more because I think my time is up. There's also group 2, group 3 power. This is with a custom power. Again, with power, we have to think about safety, cognition, and vision. Being able to take your hand off before there's an obstacle. So disadvantage with group 3, we don't want to run into anything. And like I said, the weight of the chair is more significant. So if you feel like somebody needs a little bit more support, the Tiltinspace chair is a nice option because it can tilt back and provide some support to promote upright posture. This is a custom seating we can use. Someone is typically a little bit more dependent, but there are some options with newer Tiltinspace chairs that somebody can push with their feet if possible and still provide that postural support and custom seating. There are cushions because we want somebody to sit on something comfortable. The last I just want to address is bathroom equipment. Bedside commodes, you can put those over the toilet or next to the bed. They do provide 2 arms to kind of give a good push, and it raises the seat up to make it easier to stand up from a toilet. So I definitely recommend if that's hard for you to do. Tub transfer bench, that's another one some people aren't aware of, but it goes over the tub, so then you can sit on the seat and then swing your legs over the tub while seated and then perform your bathing task in a seated position. A lot of times our OTs recommend the handheld shower, so then that way you can do your showering tasks in a seated position. And then there are our shower seats. Unfortunately, insurance companies don't typically cover tub transfer benches and shower seats, so those are typically an out-of-pocket expense. And then occupational therapists, I'm just kind of promoting them because they have lots of adaptive equipment to make feeding, grooming, dressing, and cooking tasks a little easier if cooking is safe. So I think I kind of gave you the brief. Any questions, or we'll probably get to that later. There's also a resource if you guys have the packet for Medicare Guidelines. All right?
Is there an average width of the wheelchair? I mean, does it fit through most doorways?
Well, so that's a really good question. The doorway that's usually the problem is your bathroom door. So it all depends. So when we're thinking about custom chair, obviously we want it wide enough to fit the person, but we do have to accommodate for the tires and then the rims. There are things that we can do. Sometimes if it's appropriate, sometimes we'll take the rims off to make it a little bit more narrow. But there's also hinges that you can get, the swing away hinges, to give you more space. So, all right. And who's next? Thank you.